No sound. Check. Sound. Audio. Audio check. I think we're good. Audio good? Can you hear me now? Check, 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 check. Unmute your mic. You should be good. Sweet. Your boy has a case of the Mondays. That's what I was saying. I cannot believe it. You guys believe it, though, because your boy got kicked out of TradingView. Swear to God. Swear to freaking God. I got kicked out of TradingView, and that's what happened. They booted me from the platform. They said, you're a professional trader. You can no longer use this application. We want $500 a month. And I was like, no. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So anyways, yeah, that's the deal. So, oh well. I have TrendSpider. Jason, if you're out there, rock on. Working with him this morning. I think we'll be good. L for TradingView. No doubt, dude. No doubt. $500 a month. I was like, are you joking? A month? I paid like $3 something a year as a retail person. And that's what they do. If you guys think that it's harder being a retail trader than a professional, once you get flagged as professional for whatever reason, everything goes up and you don't get anything extra. Can you 500? No. Sorry. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. And I was late, so I missed the open this morning because we did the car swap, me and Mama Gaines, because I was dropping the kiddo off this morning. So not only did I get to the office and realize, oh, I don't have the keys, got to go back, then checking, can log in. Oh, well. So enough of the shenanigans. Let's get to this, right? Let's do that. I'm gonna pull the chat down. I'm watching this. You guys rock. There's a ton of comments coming already. But yeah, I don't really trade a whole lot of Mondays anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. Most of the time, I'm pretty much doing this. But we are kicking off. I mean, technically, we kicked off earnings season last week, but this week we actually get into the meat of it. So we do have Tesla and we do have Netflix hitting the tape this week for earnings, and that's usually. That's when we really get hot and heavy. Next week, we're going to get even more. And I think next week is the biggest week of earnings season altogether. And I'm just going to say this now. We are in a period of the market where we are actually going to probably chop for a little bit. I know happy all-time high week, by the way. The guys, the crew, the Spaces crew were giving me such a hard time last week. Because I kept saying seemingly every day. I don't know. I had this feeling. I knew. I was very sure that we were going to be hitting all-time highs last week. And sure enough, we sniped the lows Thursday. But for me, from Thursday's low to Friday's high, just as an aside, we moved the length of an average week within a 48-hour period. And whenever that happens to me, that typically signals a period of rest is coming for the market. So, whatever the market's doing, I don't really know what it's doing because I can't really see it. But from an index perspective, and I just talking about index perspective, not an individual stock perspective, they tend to chop for a little bit. But that said, we got a lot of stuff coming up this week. And so there's still a lot of stuff to trade. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you're new here, by the way, welcome. Number one, I think this is going to Instagram. It may or may not be. I have no idea. If it is, great. If not, oh well. I don't know. Maybe it's streaming late over there. Who knows? But I'm gonna go through a couple things. I'm gonna recap. So last week or so, we did a January live. Also was like, hey, what's the top 5 for 2025? I'm gonna take a look at that. Here was that deck. So this was again kind of like my view of like here's a what was it? Here's like a kind of like mixed basket of some stocks that I thought would be decent for like a what would I call this? Kind of like a diversified kind of view. Here's Snowflake. And yes, I'm using TrendSpider right now. We were looking at basically a 2-year base. Here's this volume profile. These are daily charts that I'm going to be looking at. Coming up on a 1, 2, 3, triple, quadruple top. This thing looks like it's ready to break out. So hopefully last call on Snowflake. The other one was Celsius, CELH. That is that energy drink. They did catch a downgrade right here. They were off to the races. There's a nice little volume profile. So if you do get a shot somewhere around this $50 level, I was buying just under 50, right in this $48 level. And then the two that were like pandemic stocks still in their downturn. One was Boston Properties. Check this out. Still way low, but higher high. This is where my higher low is going to be. Actually, I think this is doable right here. So I want to make sure that this higher low gets locked in right here. Look at that nice little volume profile here at $66 that we're just bouncing off of. And Ulta, again, kind of basing here. Again, 475. Hopefully this guy holds. If she pulls back, you're probably looking about 450. Remember, these are not short term. These are longer term, like all year long. And PWR would, to round this out, looking around that 200 level to hold. I'm in this down here, but again, this is where we want it to hold and base out for the rest of 2024 to let this guy be like nice little cup, handle, and rough. I don't wait for these breakouts of if this is a cup and a handle, by the way, I'm not waiting for the break of the handle or the cup. I'm buying at like the bottom of the handle. That makes sense. That's where we want to buy it, either here or here. And this is where that would be. So anyways, back to it. So what we're going to do for the rest of this is kind of go over a couple other headlines, some stuff from last week, what we're looking at, and then some seasonality also I want to get into. If you guys have tickers that you want to look at, go ahead and pop them into the chat. We'll take a look at those as well. So obviously S&P closed at all-time highs for the first time in 2 years last week. So closed the week on the highs. We did hit if you guys know me, I trade off these like NFP levels. I'll go back to this chart real quick. And we were looking, and I don't have it here, but if our friends over at Transpider, this 474, it basically, here's this, I'm assuming that this is going to be our, this 470.40. This is probably going to be that Friday NFP day right in here. This high and low. And so this was essentially 1, 2, 3 days down, 2, 1, 2. We're looking for a 2 to 3 candlestick reversal. 1, 2, 3. We're buying here and really right here, this little dip, 470, and then that low right here, Thursday low. So between Thursday's low and Friday's high, 1, 2, 3, like this area, these two candles, that's basically a full week's range, believe it or not, topping out today. So we could probably go into a little bit of a rest, please. Bulwarks, yeah, I see Adobe. I like Adobe, actually, by the way. We'll get into others. There's some stuff around like SMCI. I think there might be some pairs trades to catch up on that might have been overlooked. I haven't looked at the charts yet, but we will take a look at those. In the macro stuff. So remember, this last year, 2023, has been all about inflation. So now it's rates. And I think the inflation talk is more or less done, right? Like everybody, I believe, is pretty much in the camp of we've hit peak inflation. I'm going to firmly be in the camp of we've hit peak rates. The difference, though, in the storylines of the market is not whether or not we've hit peak rates, but how fast rates will come down. And so that's what we're going to be seeing in the market. And so what I'm going to tell you guys right now is that what you want to look at is two things. Well, one thing, but you can look at it a couple different ways, maybe two different ways. You can look at something called the TNX, and I'll go back to this chart one more time. Hopefully transparent. Yep, boom, TNX. So TNX is the 10-year yield. So this is basically the 10-year bond. This is going to show up as right. So if this yield is coming down, that means this is inversely correlated to the bond. So this is the yield of the 10-year bond. We want to see this yield coming down. This coming down, that is rates. That's good. We lose this that red line is a 200-day average, a simple moving average. I don't use EMAs. That's going to be good for us. You can look at it in the dollar. UUP is what we want to look at when we're using TrendSpider, DXY for other platforms like TradingView. It would be DXY. But the UUP you can actually buy, believe it or not. So this is actually an ETF that tracks the dollar, which is we kind of want to see. We don't want to see this going up, at least, if that makes sense. But really, yields, right? So as long as the TNX is not going up, we should be good. And this is where the story really comes into the market, right? So a lot of the storyline is, oh, we're going to have 6 rate cuts. I think that's aggressive, right? Like when we start pricing in 6 rate cuts, the market's going to get super bullish. It's going to look a little wild. It's probably a little overly optimistic. And remember, keep this in the back of your mind. If you're new to trading, I'm just going to say this, that typically the actual rate cut is a sell signal. But moving up into the rate cut, we can rally pretty hard. So it's buy the rumor, and we want to, and typically sell the news, not unlike the Bitcoin situation, right? Running up into the event happens, it's probably going to be sell the news thing. So that said, we don't have the rate cut. We can continuing on to the upside as long as that keeps getting pushed out. So I don't think we're going to have 6 rate cuts, but let's say we have 4. And by the way, if you think they're going to have 6 rate cuts, you got to think something seriously wrong is going to happen to the market, which that's going to be rough. So, you'd have to have a pretty dire outlook. You'd have to have a recession in your outlook to think that we're going to cut rates 8 times or 6 times. To me, I would just assume. Otherwise, stable, keeping it the same and kind of pushing out the rate cuts is just going to keep the guessing alive of like, oh, when's the pivot going to come? When's the pivot going to come? And we can continue to grind higher if that stays the storyline in the market. Corporate debt defaults. Oh, so Lagarde says we had the beige book last week, by the way, which is basically all the Fed governors, all the Fed presidents come together and they kind of roll up their forecast to the FOMC committee. One of them standing up, Lagarde says it's likely the ECB. Oh, never mind. ECB we have this week, and I also believe we have BOJ this week. So ECB will cut rates this summer. We do want to have that on deck, just like maybe watch out. So we have a little bit of international view this week. We did another headline: corporate debt defaults soared in 2023 last year, up 80% from 2022, and more than expected in 2024. So that's kind of like the headlines that the bears are holding on to. If you're going to have a bearish view, that's kind of what you got to look at. We do see a lot of layoffs. But again, if rates really are going to come down, it's probably going to be bullish anyways. So I don't see a whole lot of. It'd have to be really bad for the market to come down in any significant way. So, so that said, this is where we are. So this is where we were. So right now we're sitting at a March rate cut for a 47% probability per the CBOE Fed Funds outlook Fed Watch tool. That's down from 55% last week, a couple days ago, and then 80%. We had an 80% probability a week before that. So I think this is good view. Like we're moving in the right direction, and we're hitting all-time highs. So this looks actually pretty healthy, to be fair. U.S. home sales are down, worst since 1995. And get this, there's a huge short position in the 10-year treasury, which was what I was just talking about, that TNX, that 10-year note, huge, largest in, I think, its history, right? So hedge funds are now short. I have it written down, more than 889,000 contracts in the 10-year T-bill, largest in 10-year treasury short position history. Crazy. So I don't know. Keep that on watch. That's a big thing right now. So I would definitely keep rates on the radar if you're not watching that TNX. Or I would just use TNX as your gauge right now. I know Sharky, if he does pop in, he may not, but he watches that a lot, talks about it a lot. We'll probably talk about that a lot on Spaces too this week. But it's a pretty critical level, and rates are going to be pretty big on the calendar. So we'll get to that. A little bit more recap. The one headline that was the most bearish headline for the week came in on last Tuesday. So New York Empire State. So that's like the New York area. The manufacturing index for that area, just that location, came in down 43.7 against a -5 consensus. So that's insanely low. And I don't remember, what did SPY do on Monday? I think we're down a little bit. I don't even know. That's a way off. Almost one of those numbers where it's like, that's sus, kind of off. So that said, I do have another one. So Thursday we got Philly Fed manufacturer, a different area. Philadelphia Fed manufacturing index came in down 10.6 on a consensus of -7. So not nearly as bad. So we're not it's not like we're seeing a ton of this like across the board right now. It looks like it's kind of, hopefully it's a fluke. We'll see what this comes out again at, but we want to watch this New York State Manufacturing Index next month, I believe it is, when it comes out. Retail sales we got on Wednesday, that came out pretty heavy. So 0.4 consensus, 50% higher is what we got, 0.6. That kind of gave the market a little bit of a boost, but we still chopped. And it wasn't until Thursday that everything kind of was out of the way. We hit the basic lows. We hit Thursday. What we did is we hit the lows on Friday's NFP. So if you guys follow me and you know about our NFP levels, we tagged our NFP high from January, the first Friday of January. We marked the high and the low, and we tagged the high of that January, that Friday's January high, like almost to the penny. And I mean to the penny. And that was it. Then we were off. So if you guys follow, who knew, right? Let me see if I can pull up our Twitter. Pretty sure. Yeah. So here's our Twitter. And I might not have had it like outlined for you guys, but right here, 470 spot 44, it says Jan NFP high. In our server, we're talking about this. There it is. There's your wick down. This is Wednesday. And then this is a 50% retracement. This is a 1, 2, 3 day downtrend. Broken. We don't take the break. We take the retest. This is also a 50% retracement. Your boy was long. The crew was long. We sniped this low, and that was it. That was all she wrote, and we were off. And we knew it was a swing. That was, I mean, I think that was it for right now, at least. So, good trade. Now we got to move on to the next, right? Not going to spend a whole lot of time sitting on it. That's it. We'll move on. So anyways, consumer sentiment came out. There's not a whole lot more. I think that's really the biggest stuff. So moving on to next week. So we don't have a lot of data coming out this week. So today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, it's pretty mellow. I think we can kind of like chop around. So what I said, we moved the length of an average week in the last 48 hours of trading. We've moved quite a bit. So I would expect today and tomorrow and possibly part of Wednesday, just based on that, to be pretty sideways. Thursday, we get the spark that could set the fire for whatever direction. And that's going to come in the form of Q4 GDP. So GDP is we get our first look at Q4 GDP. We do have a 7-year note auction, and we do have some housing numbers also. So remember, housing has been kind of hitting the headlines a little bit, not really moving markets, but this GDP first look, I think, can definitely be a major mover. And then Friday will lock in whatever move we end up getting, and that comes in the form of PCE. So PCE is personal consumption expenditures. That's how much we as in the consumer is actually spending. That is the Fed's number one favorite gauge of inflation. It's not CPI. It's not PPI. It's PCE. This is what's going to be more forward looking than anything. So Thursday, that's going to be your big day. Friday is going to kind of like solidify the rest of this trend. And then we have earnings. So we have earnings. We have earnings in between this. We got Netflix, we got Tesla. So we got a lot of those trades to play that could move a lot of these markets around so far. So far we have basically 5 of the Dow 30 components that have reported. You guys know I track the Dow 30, which is 30 largest companies in the market. We've got Walgreens, United Health, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Travelers. For whatever reason, Travelers is in the Dow 30, all of which have beat expectations, or beat their forecasts, rather, not expectations. And here's the calendar, man. We got a full week. So we got a couple of the airlines coming up. We got United. I know there's some shenanigans going on with Spirit and JetBlue. I'm going to kind of leave that alone for right now. It is what it is. But United tonight after the close, tomorrow in the morning, we have like a couple. So some of the defense companies are coming up. We got GE, 3M, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. Those are going to be kind of interesting. And then after the close, this is where we get, after the close Tuesday, we get kind of interesting. So Netflix after the close, very big mover for sure. Some of the oil companies are going to start to move. Yeah, Baker Hughes, Halliburton, looks, SLB's got to be in here somewhere. Probably just missing it. But unless they already reported, let's see. Anyways, Netflix is your big mover for sure. I'm long GE. I'm not going to touch that one. I think that's going to surprise. Hopefully, we'll see. I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to be long. I'm long Netflix also. I think that one's starting to move a little bit as well. Netflix hasn't actually been a big mover as of late, but it does have its tendency to be. It used to be a big one. I don't know if it's going to stay the giant mover anymore or not. We'll find out. I'm not going to trade that though. Let's see what else do we have. Tesla for sure. I mean, everybody's gonna be watching Tesla. That comes Wednesday after the close. IBM, your boy's gonna be short. That's all I can say. ServiceNow probably be long. LRCX is actually kind of low key, probably bullish. I don't know if it's moved yet. We have a couple other stocks that the guys have some people have requested already, so I'll take a look at those. Netflix Netflix is a bad movie, bad popcorn and hard seats. Oh god, hilarious. What do I think about Tesla earnings? Or you know what? I'll tell you this. You know, I think that there's no good news priced into Tesla right now. That's for sure. I'm buying Tesla and I'm averaging up on Tesla here. I think it can go lower. I think some people are, I think you're going to be looking at 200 now. I actually don't think it gets there. I think I think that people, I think that people will be sitting there waiting for 200 and you'll probably get like 204, maybe. Or right now, what is it now? You know what? Let's pull up this. I wonder if, you know what? I don't know about TrendSpider charts yet, and I'll be interested to see. There she is. So here's the last low right here. And what I like to do is I like to grab the low right before the last low. I don't know how straight this is. If there's a way, if Jason's watching and he's able to tell me how I can make this like auto straight. I don't think that's the right line. Let me delete. I delete that. I can't delete. Clone. No, not clone. Delete. Oh my God. Shift click. Yeah, shift click deletes it. Is this tool. I don't know. I need to make sure this is straight, whatever this is. This looks like 203 something. But anyways, it's the low right before the last low. That's what I'm looking for. So this is the last low. The low right before that is about 203, 202.50, 202.50. Yeah, I'm gonna buy there if I get the shot. I've already bought, but I'm not. I've already bought like up in here, so I'm not gonna buy here. If I see it down here, I'll buy it one more time, and that's it. Then I'll just sit on it. Time to load up. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not paying. I mean, dude, $600 a month or whatever they want. I don't think so, man. It didn't make any sense to me. Shift click. Once I figure, there's the line. It's like 204 or something. It's just a matter of getting used to their tools. If I could magnet, I have a magnet tool. 202.46. The low right before the low. There's my spot. Anything here is fine. You know, do you need to be like, the thing is, I'm so like I'm on Tesla here, like anywhere in this box. In this box, I'm a buyer. Here's my box. We're in it. Anywhere in here. Can it flush to this like volume shelf? Sure. But it is what it is. What we really need to see is we need to see this earnings go through, right? So what I can't do is I can't take technicals like ahead of earnings. That's like really tough to do. It's a hard ask, friends. For sure. But anyways, do not type in Netflix. Do not type in Netflix. I mean, yeah. The thing about Netflix is we're here. We're right back to where this is why I'm not sure about Netflix. We're right back to this prior earnings dumpster. Like this was a big earnings dumpster fire right here. So we haven't we've basically filled in this old gap and we've retraced this whole thing. It could fail. It could like stall out. Who knows? Like this is where we are. Huge base on Netflix. All of this that it's got to get through. If it does, great. We're off and running. But we'll know after the report. It's not something I need to speculate on personally. I haven't looked at LRCX in a long time. It's not been liquid enough. Okay, that's gone. It was wasted. Yeah, you should have just told me. Anyways, L3 Harris, American Express. Yeah, I think next week is going to be more fun, but we kick it off right now with these two, Tesla and Netflix. So if you want some pairs trade, so United and American and Delta will trade together. I don't see Delta on here. I think Delta already reported. American will probably not move at all because United's going to go first. Delta's your best of breed, and I believe this, believe it or not, it's gonna be because Delta has like the least amount of Boeing Max jets on their fleet. Then comes United with like the second least amount, and then there you have it, right? But T-Mobile, best of breed in terms of your wireless. Crown Castle's been interesting for a very long time. But anyways, that's all I'm gonna do on this. We got a lot of other stuff. Oh. ENPH. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If we're gonna go into some other stuff too. If we're gonna catch a bid in the market, these are kind of the areas that I would probably be looking at. And I'm gonna talk to our friend really quick, Miss Cleo, in a second. And then I'm gonna cap us off with something called the January effect. If you guys haven't heard this term before, it's we talked about the Santa Claus rally. We talked about this thing buy Rosh Hashanah, sell Yom Kippur. I told you the truth about how they really work. If you've been able to follow along, then you've been able to make some money. We'll talk about the January effect here in a little bit. But before we go there, let's go ahead and check in with our good pal, Miss Cleo. All right, guys, this is my favorite part of the segment. Here we are, Miss Cleo. This is our reading for the week. I have no idea what these cards mean. I have not read them. So I'm catching this for the first time with you guys. I'm looking at this. It looks like I don't know. I don't know what's this guy. It looks like a guy with a bunch of gold circles on his feet and one on his head and lots of gold over here. And then this guy looks like he's ready to go to war. And this one's the magician. And then looks like there's a battle. And then this looks like the battle has ended. And then there's some poverty. So, I'll just say, looks like we are collecting our monies to go to war. and then we attack, and then we get attacked, and then there's poverty. That's what I'm reading. But let's go. Let's get let's get into it. See what she says. So the theme card is the Four of Pentacles. Last week's theme card was the King of Coin. Perhaps the reversion of the Four of Coins suggests that prices will revert to. The good news is that the card is positive on average, so we may see some weakness with dips that are supported. The general theme is that we're stuck and unable to move in either direction. What did your boy just say? we're gonna sit, we're gonna chop in either direction, simply because we're clutching on our clutching our purses too tightly. Expect some chop. Yeah. Oh, I did little recap. So Monday concludes our journey into a trap on Tuesday. Wednesday will be tricky. Thursday will be very powerful trend day. Friday likely starts very poorly for the bulls. But she did say, and we'll read this. So Monday, here are the cards. So the actual cards that we went left to right. 10 of Pentacles achieved great wealth. That was today. We opened at all-time highs. I think we're good there. Tuesday is tomorrow, so that's more important. The 7 of Swords. There's a trap in play, which means that this is very dangerous setup. Monday could be a bull trap that sets up decent selling on Tuesday. Okay. Wednesday is the Magician, one of the most powerful cards in the deck, but his price action depends on the type of mood he's in. Okay, he's moody. He too loves setting traps, notice a trend, but he can be very trendy in the process. Skews negatively overall, but a strong seller, so I would bet that any rally will be sold here, and the day brought negative. Thursday is the Tower, an interesting card because the Tower usually implies that we've undergone an unsustainable rally that must be reversed. This is as in the Tower must fall. Sometimes we must build the Tower first, and that's what this card brings. What? Sometimes we must build the Tower first, and that's when this card brings rallies. And now I think we got it. I don't know. Okay, we'll see. So, but she's saying it's a trend day. We're just gonna follow the setup that she's saying. Conflicted, hint of Wednesday's mage squeeze into reversal today, and we're not gonna go with her gut on direction here. She's been not so great on actual direction. Friday, 5 Pentacles. We're suffering now, feeling isolated, sick, and left out in the cold. Obviously, not a good circumstances. Look for early weakness that feels very bad and makes us anxious, if not desperate. However, this card also says that help is right there. So all we have to do is accept it. Therefore, the afternoon should lighten up, and we should carve out a low, if not rally from it. I'm not buying dips just yet, though. Cool. I think that more or less sets up. We got a Thursday trend day with GDP and a lot of other macro data, and then PC on Friday. Those look like the 2 days to trade. So that's it for Miss Cleo. I take it for what it is, screenshot it. This is recorded. You can check it on YouTube or Twitter or wherever. I don't know if this is going on Instagram or not. We'll see. But what I did want to step in on was seasonality, right? So we're at all-time highs. Everything looks great, seemingly great. We're coming into year 4 of a presidential cycle. So I have 2 things here. So number 1 is actually on the bottom. I should have put this on the top. This is a 4-year presidential cycle. I think I did this last week. We are here, typically flat. This is like S&P. We're typically flat right around here. But we do happen to have like a bit of a pop sometimes. So possibly that's what we're looking at right now from a monthly perspective. So we're at the highs. What do I choose? How do I go about like focusing in on my trades? Well, now we get into something called the January effect. And this is where it gets really interesting to me. And if you guys have been following along at all, you know I'm very much focused on IWM and small cap strength in general. But when it comes to seasonality, small cap season is January, and this is called the January effect. And it is by far and away their largest like bullish season, right? And it starts at the end of January, believe it or not. I know that this says mid-December, but I'm just telling you now, it's actually right about now, towards the end, middle to end of January. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the chart. So right here, right now, any dips to me, I think I'm a buyer on any and all pullbacks right here. I mean, this is my favorite spot. So we just want to look around. I'm not going dumpster diving necessarily. Like personally, I know a lot of people super bullish on PayPal. It's not really my thing. But there's a lot of good stuff to be found. I think, if you take your time and you do the work, there's a lot of stuff to be had here. It's not to say that the Mag 7 or, NVIDIA, AMD, stuff like that aren't going to rally. They will. But, and there will always be an appetite for growth. But we go back to like that Celsius kind of like reversal. If we do get one, that's where I want to be. Even DraftKings rally off the lows, coming to Super Bowl, you never know. SMCI yesterday, we'll take a look at that. There's a lot of stuff just like that we'll start to see over the next month, let's say coming weeks, that is, Futbuckers, ENPH, and Andy, yeah, TNA, right? TNA, absolutely. That's exactly where I want to be. So let's pull up the charts. Whoa. LRCX, by the way, this is probably a perfect example, right? But you know what? Let's not look at TNA. Let's look at IWM specifically. This is the chart, IWM. What we need to see that 190 kind of defend right here, and we absolutely did. I got 3 lines on my charts. I use simple moving averages. Red is a 200 simple moving average. Blue is a 50. White is a 20. We are above the 50 on the 200. If you want to get weird, they call this a golden cross when the 50 crosses over the 200, blah, 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 blah. We're well over these volume shelves here. And we just bounced right off of it. So to me, we're good to go. If we're holding steady over this 196.50, we are solid. When you're looking at from, a fund like pricing perspective, look at this chart, right? We have not gone anywhere since 2022. If I look at SPY, not to say one way or the other, we haven't either, but we've rallied heavily off the lows. It's a huge dip, right? Q's huge dip. So you can say, like, at least from a price perspective, you're cheap here. This is cheap in comparison right now. So that's what I could say. This has not had the rally that anybody else has. And so I don't think you're at risk of buying something that's overbought. You're not. So that's my 2 cents. That's absolutely where I'd be focusing on. Nick wants to look at NPH. Yeah. I mean, didn't the CEO buy like a bunch of shares somewhere around here? I think the CEO bought a few million right around the same price level too. Right around 110. I mean, look, I don't know enough fundamentally about the stock to have a real opinion one way or the other. I would say, like, just from the chart, $100 is going to be kind of like I would have to say, like, I don't want to see it under, I wouldn't be 100. I'd say like 95. Because they always, you put a stop at 100, by the way, they're gonna stop you out at 100, and then it's gonna rally. So just be careful with that. It could be a higher low. So if we do want to see a higher low, it was gonna be right here. So as long as it's holding that, it looks okay. It's a little stretched today. Big old top wick. We'll see. Let me see you guys put a couple other tickers out here. Adobe. So Bulwarks wanted to see Adobe. We will take a look at Adobe. Adobe is another one of those, like, definitely coming into highs. I don't know when they have earnings. Looks like Adobe's going to have earnings. When is it? We got a couple minutes. March 24th. So typically, let's take a look. Before I get into this, I did want to say, so AMD, as an example, AMD has earnings January 30th. It is currently, because I don't know the date. What's the date? The 22nd. So a big push started on the 16th. That's 2 weeks, give or take, before they reported earnings. So keep that in mind. So about 2 weeks before your company of choice reports earnings, you're gonna see some kind of rally similar to this. That's your pre-earnings run up. It's not like the week of or the week before. You'll probably see a rest, and you might even see a pullback the week of, depending on the day that they report, just in case, especially if you've had this kind of rally here. AMD is going to be a tough one, by the way. That was a big run. It's going to have to hold 164 right here, this prior high. Otherwise, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. 165. Looks like it's bouncing here. It'll probably hover right around here, I think, until we get to earnings. Just that was just a huge run, and technically they don't have any. The only thing about AMD, man, they don't have any AI products actually out to market that I know of right now. Yeah, so there's a lot of story in the stock right now. Kind of tough. So back to Adobe. Yeah, motion. Dude, TradingView booted me. That's all I know. TradingView. Yeah. I don't know what we're gonna do with TradingView. So Adobe. Let's see, when does Adobe have earnings? Looks like Adobe is gonna report Thursday, March. So maybe towards the end of the month. Looks like we can pull back a little bit. We kind of have this area. Still getting used to these tools. This is kind of like your little shelf here. So I know Nick as in GNOTs was going to be short on this pullback from 595. Got that to 585. You're pretty tight on these two SMAs. You could definitely pull back a little bit here. Looks like 600 is going to be a nice even number. We're sitting about 608 right now, so you got some time. I wouldn't say you need to jump in on this. Jason, if you're out there, sorry. They're not super efficient, but you might be looking something like that. Something like this for Adobe, hopefully, before earnings. What I didn't want to look at, so SMCI upgraded, well, pre-announced, right? An extra $1 billion for the quarter. This was like a $15 billion company, which, that's honestly, it's probably totally legit. I'm not a fan of SMCI by any means. What I'd say though is that's all based on like the AI theme. I think that theme stays totally good. This move has happened, and I haven't looked at this chart. Arista Networks. If you don't remember, this is so the data goes into the server, processed by by GPUs. That's your NVIDIAs, which are sitting in your SMCI boxes, which are all connected to Arista top of rack switches. So this is that third part of that component. I think it's a decent run here. Nothing like SMCI. This is going to be, look at this chart. It's kind of beautiful. Give it a bit. I'll be looking probably around this 260. I'm already long stock, but I'd like to get a little bit more if I can. When do they report? Ooh, I don't think I'm going to be able to. February 12th. Looks like they might have had that run already. I'd have to be a buyer. I'd have to get this sub 250. 267 looks like she's just gone. She might just be going now. I might have missed the boat. I missed the boat, you guys. Oh well. But yeah, I don't know that this one needs to stop anytime soon. I think this is fully justified too. TV drove to. I don't even know what you're talking about. TradingView. Oh, drove you. They deserve. Yeah. TradingView drove me to TrendSpider. They deserve to lose money. Yeah, they do, for sure. Disney. I'll go over Disney for sure. So I like Disney, actually. So Anthony, good call on this. Let's look at this. So there are two stocks. Oh God, this is giving me a hard time. Maybe I need to look on the weekly. So Disney's ready. I'm just gonna say that. Disney's ready to roll, man. Anthony, Disney's ready to roll. So this is a really nice setup on Disney right here. We had a big move. I forget what day it was. One of these days up to 93, pulled back, gave it all back. We caught the dip, rode it back up. Now it's extending again today. Look at this. So when we were talking about simple moving averages, and this is a weekly, by the way, on the daily, here's the daily. So 3 simple moving averages, 20, 50, 200. When they're tight, and you don't get any tighter than this, guys, when they're tight and curled just like this, you're ready to roll. And so this is, I mean, you do not get any tighter than this. To me, you guys, this is very clearly a direction here. Everything is curling up, up, up. There's no question to me that this is going to be a squeeze. So obvious squeeze to the upside. I love this, Anthony. You rock for bringing this up because I would have forgotten about this straight up. I'm going to swing this. Disney's along into Netflix earnings. So pairs trade, Disney, not trading Netflix. If Netflix does good, Disney should go up. If Netflix does bad, Disney should go up. Sorry, we've played this one before. other pair trade to Netflix. Roku, not as clean as Disney. Disney is probably the cleanest setup that I've seen in a long time. So Anthony, props to you. There is nothing better. There's nothing bad about this chart. I see nothing in the way. This is as bullish can get, my friend. Beautiful catch. Amazing call out. Chart of the week right here. No joke. When's the last time you thought about doing that one? Chart of the week, my friend. Props to Anthony. DM me, dude. We'll bring in the server for a month if you're not here. I love that. All right. Let's see. We got Twilio. So a couple guys asking Twilio, interesting. It's a text play, so they do the push notifications via text. Yeah, it could be a lot of AI integration stuff. Tough call. I'm not gonna lie. So it's a large base here. I think this is kind of like a gamble one. February 14th is earnings. So I think you could probably get a pre-earnings run up. Small cap, man. I think you catch a bid. It's not expensive. I think you catch a bid. I would be weary at earnings. So buy the rumor, sell the news. I think you can run all of these guys. I don't know. I think you can run them all into earnings, but I would just be very weary holding through the event. I would be out like 90% of like holding through earnings, not even runners, right? Just what it is. But yeah, that Disney chart, my brother Anthony. Yeah. Disney is shout out, dude. Nick wants PayPal. FB asking for PayPal. Ooh, you know how I feel about PayPal. Everybody's bullish. You know what's weird about PayPal? So let's get this straight. So we saw the Disney. Let's look at this. Here's the Disney chart. We're looking at these. This is daily. Simple moving averages, all coiled nice and tight. You don't get tighter than this, you guys. This is as good as it gets. Just saying. It's as good as it gets because these are all firing. Boom, boom, boom. It's very clear direction, right? Very clear direction. The 20, the 50 are all above the 200. Let's look at PayPal. You could say that PayPal is tight, right? They're all tight. But what's different is that these are below here. So if these were above here, I'd say okay, right? But they're not. So to me, it's not ready. What can it be ready? Yeah, but it's gonna have to be an earnings event, which is gonna be on February 7th. So I think it chops. We looked at it last time. I was like, look, this was when we looked at it last time. I said that this is your level right here, right? So the low before the low, we're holding. So you're good here, right? And I was good to like 73 at most, and then exit stage left. You're about halfway there. You got 68. At this point, it looks like you do. And again, sorry, I don't know these tools that well. It looks like you pull back to those SMAs and you probably chop around for a bit until they kind of are able to come back up. So like this 200 is going to need to kind of come up a little bit, right? So like this 200 is going to need to do its thing up here, come back down and settle in over the, sorry, that's a 20. It's going to need to settle in over the 200. This 50 is going to need to do the same, come up and settle in over the 200. And then the 200 is going to need to chill out And then the setup is going to look like Disney. But this could be a month or two. See the difference? So it's not good, if that makes sense. It's not good. I am Al Baba. You know what? I think it's short. I think all China's a short, though. I'm gonna tell you. You guys will laugh at me. We failed to save your workspace. Okay, fine. That's fine. Let me move on. I just need to move on. Jason! Trendspider. No. Whatever. Fail. B. Oh, my bother. Okay, deleting, delete. BA. So here's the low before the low on Baba. This little line is in my way. I believe it's here, though. I think that's the wick. 70.49. We're below it. So I don't think it's going up. I don't think it's going up anytime soon. You know what I'll say? Here's FXI. This is the Chinese large cap ETF. There's nothing bullish about this index. This is a daily. Let's do something real quick. I'm going to switch to the monthly. This is the monthly. And I don't have enough data here. But the monthly, if I had more data, this actually comes from down here. It was here. So this is actually just now breaking down. And I have this really weird feeling like, you know, I'm not a big fan of shorting the lows, but I feel like, I don't want to get into it, but like, I feel like the US is finally coming to a place of like, well, it's either going to go one of two ways. Either they're going to decide that, you know, we're just, okay, we're going to white flag. We're not going to invest in communist countries. Or the large hedge funds are legitimately so far underwater that they're going to create some kind of crazy scheme and the algos are going to pump this as the best low, like the best value in the market, and they're going to squeeze the crap out of this. So one of the two, that's what's going to happen. What I will say is I am short one of these stocks, and that is Pinduoduo. Whether or not I'm right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't know. I took my shot. I'm not adding to it. I'm going to keep it as is. We are sitting below a pretty important volume shelf that I'm looking at here. So as long as we're under this volume shelf, I'm going to stay short Pinduoduo. So this is Temu. Temu is in the business of selling you knickknacks. Actually, they're not in the business of selling you knickknacks. They're in the business of selling information. They don't actually make money selling knickknacks. They make money selling your info, if you didn't know. It's still holding its 50. I'd like to see this lock in another lower high, and then I will likely be adding. I like this rejection today. I like a lot of the guys caught this short on Friday, which might have been a good ad, but I like it. Swing short. Sorry. DWAC. All right, I'm gonna call this here, guys. DWAC. Hey, man, look, as long as Trump's in the front run, yeah, go for it, man. I don't know. Gamble. Something big. Jan 25th. I like it. One of the sweet. Oh, PayPal said one of the C-suite execs. You know, maybe. Look, there's no question in my mind that PayPal is undervalued. Zero question in my mind that PayPal is undervalued. It is. It's just a question of whether or not the vision is going to be there. There's a new executive team. He's on. It's game time. Suit up or show up, baby. He's got to show up. That's what it's going to be about. That is what it's going to be about. All right, guys, I'm going to call it. I love you all. Appreciate you. I will see you out there. I'm going to get this charting shenanigans figured out. I'll probably sit down with Jason, but I think I'm going to be okay. At least for a minute using the TrendSpider stuff. Yeah. And that's it for now. Adios. And I'll see you on Spaces. Have a good one.